So, I have talked before about how I want a Watership Down anime, and this might seem odd. Like, why would I want an anime adaptation? A lot of people, their favorite stories, they don't want them adapted at all. They're like, okay, I like it how it is. I don't want, like, this is going to be the best version. And then there have been adaptations, so why do I want this one? And why do I want an anime adaptation of a story written in and about England? So, um, first off, with those other adaptations, they have been mixed. I've I've seen the movie from '78. I've seen the show. I've seen like the first two, I think, episodes of the show that started in '99, and I haven't seen the more recent show from 2018. And one thing based on the ones I've seen and the one I didn't see, but what I've heard about it is that none of them are bad, but none of them are great either. And they're like they none of them quite do what I want. At least, like I said, the two I've seen, they don't quite do what I want with it. And like I said, they're not terrible. They adapt. They don't ruin. Neither of them ruin the story, right? But they don't quite get there. They don't quite have everything. I think, especially the movie, because I have seen that all the way through. It's it adapts the events and it doesn't like change the plot too much. Like the plot is mostly the same, but I feel like especially like the character relationships seem underdeveloped at times, and at times, to me at least, it all sort of seemed like a blob. Like the rabbits, it was hard to tell about like individuality between the rabbits, where that is like very very clear in the book. And so that's yeah. And so that's what I think about that. And then the one adaptation I do really like, is the graphic novel, which nobody has heard of, nobody knows. I actually did a review on that. Would you look at that? And I do really like the graphic novel, but it is a lot shorter and it cuts out quite a bit. And some of the stuff it cuts out, I really, really like. So, yeah. So basically, that's why I want, because there has been no adaptation that is like at the level of the original. There hasn't been one, in my opinion. Well, like I said, I haven't seen the one, but from what I heard about it, I've heard similar things about it to the other adaptations. That it's fine, but not great. Which, yeah, I like I said, I haven't seen that one, so maybe I could be wrong about that. But anyway, on to why I think it would work for anime. I think the tone is like the sort of thing that it would, at least anime in general, is just like more familiar with adapting than Western media. Not that Western media has never done something like this, because I'm sure that's not true. That I'm sure the Western movie or show or something has done this, but I think like this sort of idea of these like really like these likable characters in this sort of surface level childish setting, but with these really intense moments, and it's very much not actually a childish story. I think this is the sort of thing that works. And the one I'm thinking about is Made in Abyss, which I think is a bit more intense than Watership Down. I think it goes. I think the disturbing parts of Made in Abyss, I think, are more disturbing than the stuff in Watership Down, in my opinion. But I think that sort of idea of, hey, this is something that like is maybe visually surface level a fun kids thing, isn't actually just a fun kids thing, but is fun sometimes, and is sort of like gets the positive part of being a fun kids thing sometimes. And I think that's what I'm looking for in a Watership Down adaptation, right? Because I think that's part of what I love about the book, is that it takes this premise, right, and it explores some of the darker parts of it, but it also explores some of the more fun parts of it, and explores like these very likable characters you get really attached to. And I think anime, from what I've seen, handles that balance and deals with that balance more than Western media does. One example I have is, and people are not gonna like this because I don't think it was a bad movie, but rewatching How to Train Your Dragon recently, it really struck me how much they tried to like avoid the problem, right? Like it's this whole thing about the humans and dragons are at war, but like we never really we see like a battle, but no one seems to die on that battle on like either side. So it's, to me at least, as an adult rewatching it, it was like really hard to be convinced by that story. It was telling me that this was this big deal, the battle between the humans and the dragons, but what we saw there seemed, I don't know, not as bad as they kept telling us it was. And I think that sort of thing happens in Western media. Even stuff that's good. Like I'm not saying How to Train Your Dragon is bad, but it's something I notice and something I don't want to happen with Watership. And then I think it could, depending on how it's done, I think it could be like very popular among anime fans. I think this is the sort of story that they absolutely, that like if done well, that they definitely could latch onto. Like this sort of adventure that's definitely about more than maybe it appears to be on the surface, and it's like really really well thought out and really exciting, and well at times very exciting. I think both of those things. I think there definitely would be an audience for it within the anime community. It seems like there should be. And then finally, one thing I really want, Pipkin on screen. Okay, so the movie, Pipkin's there, but I actually forgot he was in the movie because the movie does not highlight individual characters that much, and Pipkin's my favorite character from the book, by the way. That's why I care this much. And then the show, he is just a completely different character. And the new version of Pipkin in that 99 show isn't even like bad. I don't think it's really a poorly written character. He's just an entirely different one. So that's a little disappointing because I want to see Pipkin, the Pipkin I want, on screen. And then the 2018 show, I know that Pipkin just isn't in that one. They just didn't put him in. And it's like, oh my gosh, I really want to see the Pipkin on screen, and it hasn't really happened to my satisfaction yet. I need, this is something I need to see. So yeah, okay. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed my pitch for a Watership Down anime. This is definitely coming out. Yep. Yeah, it's possible, right? Like Western stuff has been adapted into anime before, so it's not crazy. But yeah, it could happen. It probably won't, but it could. Yeah, this is just something personally, like the thing I want to see. Like I really, really want to see this, but